50. Okay, boom. And open it up. Come on. There we go. Click here to join on your mobile phone. All right.
There you are.
I'm in.
All right. Can you hear me?
Not yet.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
No. Are you muted?
Hang on. I'm in. I
Says
haven't
you're
done
live.
anything.
Says you're
Wait.
live.
I think maybe.
Oh, we got to hang up.
Wait, I thought I heard something.
We got to hang up.
Yeah, could you do that? Because I don't want to mess with it.
There you are.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. All right.
And everybody's in their proper little spot, so.
Good. So, yeah, the last time we were doing it this way in a test, you were experiencing an issue where I was showing up first.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So now everybody's doing everything. You're in your right circle. I'm in my right circle. Now let's hope we can get Gary in.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for him to respond to my Facebook message. He's been kind of crabby lately. I'm hoping that everything will be okay. Yeah, well, wait here. I'm getting an indication that he's now replying on the Facebook. Give me a second. All right. All right.
There's our intro music.
He's going to try the PC first because the phone really seems to have issues with the app. Well, the PC does, but it's even worse with the phone. All right. Well, let's see how it goes. We have 7 minutes, so.
For anyone who's listening, the reason why we're on so early is because we had trouble last Wednesday, and so we are trying really, really hard to make sure everything works this time.
And one of the things we're learning is that Podbean is really mobile forward. If you're using a PC, and that includes laptops, it really doesn't often marry well with Podbean.
No, it does not.
And last week, everything that could go wrong, it seemed, did. It kept muting Eva when I was driving, and then when Eva was driving, it was muting me. We couldn't get Gary on. So that's why we've got Gary again for tonight. Gary Hill, the editor of and contributor to the anthology Lifeblood 2.
I did learn after we met the other day, that we were not the only ones who had trouble last Wednesday with Podbean.
Oh, thank God. It's not me. Please, it's not me?
Well, it could be us, but it was not completely us.
So the Imaginarium show, the Star Chamber podcast on Podbean, that worked. They had no trouble.
Yes, they had no trouble.
Okay.
And they were explaining our issues, and they were very grateful that they had no issues, because I was texting them going, oh my gosh, we had so much trouble. You're on at 9, beware.
But how did you find out that other people were having issues?
A friend of mine listens to podcasts, and she was listening to ours, and then she also she had listened to a couple others, and they were having trouble too. So.
Okay. All right.
We were not.
Is Gary popping? Sorry. Is Gary popping up at all on your on your dashboard?
Not yet.
I let him know that you sent him an invite to his Gmail.
Email, yes. Yeah, he just
all right.
click on that.
Wait. All right. Okay, getting a replying the little dots, that up and down. We're replying. It says test 2 is finished. Why is he even? No. Click the link. Click the link in
the email,
the Gmail that says join. What is it called? Join
the chat.
Join the chat. Click the link in the Gmail that says join the chat.
See, this is great for anybody who's wanting to do a podcast. They could just come on early to our podcast, and then they get to see all of the inner behind the scenes workings of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
if they decide to do their own, all they got to do is listen to us to learn everything not to do. That's all you got to do.
I will let him know that it will say mobile, but that's the only option. Sometimes it works with a PC.
Worst case, we'll call him. The sound won't be wonderful, but.
Okay. Yeah, I want to try to get as decent sound as possible. But yeah. Okay, 4 minutes to go. It should be all right.
Yeah. And this is another thing, you're kind of at the whim of your technology, but you're also at the whim of your guests, and their capabilities. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. Yeah. So, yeah.
And since you're on your phone, if you want to text me his phone number, then what happens is I can,
I don't think I have. Hang on. Wait, I think I've got it.
or ask him real
go up.
quick, and we can call him.
I don't think he ever gave me his phone number. He has mine.
Ask him for it real quick.
As a backup, give me your phone number, mobile number.
We can call him on speakerphone.
Okay.
We can do this.
Okay, it doesn't seem to work with a PC. I just tried to run the app on the phone and it has crashed my phone. I'm hoping it's going to power back up, but at the moment it shut down. Okay.
I wonder what kind of phone he's using.
Yeah, like I powered up the app and the phone shut off mid starting it. All right.
I wonder if he has an older phone. Just asking.
I have an old phone. I have like a Galaxy S9 from 2018, I think, something like that. So that's ancient.
Just tell him to start it up and send me his phone number. Just text me his phone number.
We use your phone. We call your phone and put you on speaker. What's your number?
Hi, Radio Parlask. Thank you for joining. We're just about to start. We're trying to get some technology issues worked out with our guest speaker, so just hang with us for a moment.
Yeah, it should only take a minute, I think. Please hold.
Are you Canadian? Are you Canadian, Radio? That is wonderful. I see a Canadian flag. Yes. Awesome. Awesome.
His phone is completely dead at the moment.
Well, tell him as soon as he gets it up that we will just send you his phone number, text it to me, and we'll go ahead and start. Radio says no rush.
Right.
These are like I said, these are the trials and tribulations of doing a live podcast. It's
absolutely.
We are learning at a fascinating rate.
It certainly is interesting.
It's like a fire hose to the gullet. I mean, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I love doing it, so I'm not gonna be deterred. That's for sure. So, well, let's go ahead and start. And
okay, go for it.
We'll get this ball rolling. And worst case, I'll do we can move the public service announcement to the beginning.
And if we have to start with the B segment, the fanged folklore segment, we can do that and figure it out.
Yep. All right. Let's get going. It is 7 p.m. Welcome to Vamp Chat with Dan and Eva, a podcast devoted to vampire fiction, fanged folklore, and the Gothic imagination. I'm Eva Vertreese, author of the Fury trilogy. Book 1, A Fury, is currently out, with Book 2, A Hellish Fury, coming later this year.
And I'm Dan Klefstad, author of Fiona's Guardians and its forthcoming sequel.
So, Dan, we've reached our third episode, and I can't believe the feedback we've received on the first two. I mean, it's been amazing, and I'm actually just really grateful we've been able to overcome the technology issues of last week.
Indeed, some of the issues, one of them is neither of us could be on at the same time. It was weird, but we've got that part ironed out. The one thing I'm kind of crossing my fingers is that we'll be able to bring our guest, Gary Hill, on the show. We are also, by the way, celebrating a recent interview that we did with Louisville Public Media's Bria Jones. A conversation that was just really a lot of fun.
Okay, it was so much fun. And I want to give a shout out to Bria if she's listening. Hello, Bria. She had listened to the first two episodes and was, I think, as thrilled with them as we are. When did she say the interview was going to air?
So Bria says it will air the week of October 7 on WFPL 89.3 FM, and it will appear online at lpm.org.
That's awesome. And we've also been asked to interview for Crossroads Radio in LaGrange, Kentucky, and that'll be on October 23rd, which is right before our joint book signing on the 26th from noon to 4 at From the Ground Up Books, which is also in LaGrange.
Yes, so if you're in LaGrange on Saturday, October 26th, stop by From the Ground Up Books and say hi and maybe, browse around. So, okay, Eva, one of the features that makes Vamp Chat extra compelling is our inclusion of fanged folklore. And tonight it is your turn to lead this segment. What have you unearthed for us?
So, Dan, I'm going to go way back and exhume an ancient Egyptian cat goddess who possibly is the world's first vampire.
Cat goddess. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me wrap my head. Let me wrap my head around this for a second. I've heard of bats associated with vampires, wolves, and certainly rats, but never cats. That's interesting.
Yep. I guess you'll have to wait and see then. So we're going to talk about it hopefully after we interview our guest, Gary. So has he managed to send you his number yet?
Not yet. So what's going to happen is, well, here's what's happening at the moment. Gary's phone broke down or died the minute he tried to download or open up Podbean, the app that we are using and the platform that we streamcast on. So Gary's phone is completely dead right now. So what I'm going to suggest we do, Eva, is that we zoom ahead a little bit and into the show and start with the B segment that we reserve for fanged folklore. And Eva, you've been researching some arcane stuff from ancient Egypt, rather. What have you discovered amongst the pyramids?
So, Dan, I'd like to introduce you to Sekhmet. So, Sekhmet, Sekhmet, pronounced Sekhmet. And she was the goddess of war in Upper Egypt. She drank voracious amounts of blood and is primarily depicted all in red. She has a lion's head, which the Egyptians revered as being the best hunters. So in her age, she quickly became known as the most fearless hunter that the Egyptians had ever known, which led to a massive following of devotees. They were even talking about when the capital was moved, like her entire following shifted to the new capital. I mean, that's how big it was. And her extreme bloodthirsty nature might possibly have inspired the Carmillas, the Draculas, the Nosferatus that the world has come to fear today.
Whoa, that's something. I mean, that's really important. I mean, there's a whole literary connection to Europe among European vampire stories that goes back to Egypt.
Right, correct. So as a goddess of blood, she served as a war deity that protected pharaohs in battle, while conversely serving as a guiding force to women during their menstrual cycles and pregnancies. So she was able to cause disease as well as cure it. And it wasn't uncommon to see priests associated with Sekhmet being treated on the same level as doctors. So
Wow.
this following was huge. So one of the oddest contradictions that I discovered in the Sekhmet story and to modern vampirism lies in her dual role as a sun deity.
You would not think, yeah, that's counterintuitive, isn't it, Eva?
Yeah.
Because you would think that someone associated with vampirism would stay away from the sun or be more associated with the moon or something.
Right. So one of the most interesting stories about Sekhmet that I discovered involves the actual destruction of mankind. So according to the legend, Ra, who was the sun god, and her father became angry with humanity, and he sent Sekhmet to teach them a lesson. She was actually so effective in her task that she almost killed everybody. And in fact, Ra had to step in. He realized she'd become too powerful and needed to be stopped. So he devised a plan to trick her, I love this, into drinking a large amount of beer that had been dyed red to look like blood. And so Sekhmet, being the fierce, powerful goddess that she was, drank the beer without even realizing it wasn't actually blood, and it caused her to become drunk and sleepy. So she eventually falls asleep, and then when she wakes up, her anger's all gone. It's subsided. And she returns to her role as the goddess of healing and medicine. I mean,
so she was just having a mood?
yeah, it's kind of like menopause.
Oh, my Lord.
So
Are there any women in the house tonight who I can identify with that?
So, unsurprisingly, Sekhmet and her sanguinary lifestyle is a major focus of many myths. So, although the ancient people looked at Sekhmet's bloodlust as something to be feared, they also believed she had saved all of them when the Nile turned red. So, some historians and mythology experts theorize that Sekhmet's bloodlust is a fable about the very real threat of red-colored water overflowing into villages and crops. During the flooding, the silt made the water turn blood red. And they credited Sekhmet with drinking enough of it to remove the danger. So I don't know if it absorbed into the sand or if it evaporated, but somehow when it receded, they linked that to Sekhmet drinking the blood. And actually an example of this historical belief reemerged in 2016 when the Nile water again turned the color of blood. So that's kind of some of the myth around that. So, Dan, in many ways, Sekhmet, God, I can't pronounce it right now, represents she's the perfect balance of good and evil.
Wow. And I still have this river of blood in my imagination just thinking about that. That is some serious anthropology, Eva. I think we should confer upon you a PhD in vampirology. You definitely earned it with that research. Now, before we do our movie review, let's tease our next guest for the October 2nd episode of Vamp Chat, which is just next Wednesday.
Yeah.
We will be speaking with Jacqueline Howland, author of a very different kind of vampire novel with an ominous title. Eva, would you like to reveal the book's name?
The God of Endings.
And we will speak with author Jacqueline Howland next Wednesday, October 2nd, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome. I can't wait. I've started the book and it's sucking me in very, very quickly. It's a really, really good book.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. So I'm looking forward to talking with Jacqueline.
Nice. Well, I guess now, where are we with Gary? Have we heard anything?
Let's see. I moved up to B segment. Let me ask him, how's your phone? Okay. And I'll give him a couple of seconds to reply. I think he got very discouraged, the poor fella, and he might have just kind of backed away, not wanting to cause us any issues, any further issues in the program today. But yeah, I see he's about to reply, or he's in the act of replying, and we're all kind of waiting. How's Gary? Where's Gary? What's Gary thinking right now?
It's like Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah. Okay, he has his phone powered up again.
Yes.
He's trying to get the invitation to the phone.
Well, we can try that. Tell him we can try that. But worst case, send us his phone number and we'll call him.
Yeah, okay. So give us, we appreciate your patience. Those who are listening right now, we use speakerphone audio. That's the worst case scenario.
I know, yeah. It's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, but we should be hearing from him very soon. In addition to The God of Endings, which you are reading now, ahead of our October 2nd interview with the author, Jacqueline Holland, what else have you been reading, Eva? What's been sort of piquing your interest?
I have not been reading. I have actually been writing.
Oh, sorry. That's even better. Tell us what you're working on a sequel to A Fury.
Yes, I am working on a Hellish Fury. And and I'm not going to lie, I was stuck for a little bit with some writer's block, didn't really know where I wanted to take the story, and I pushed through that. And so now I'm in a feverish pitch of typing. I've got a new direction. I'm loving it. And it's working really, really well. And I'm actually really pleased with the way that the story is flowing. It's flowing finally the way I want it to go, which is.
I think all of the authors who are listening right now can identify with that, and can, it hits them right, where in it feels like, I've been there. Like,
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand you're writing as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to write a sequel to Fiona's Guardians, and I'm about 50,000 words in right now, and I anticipate it'll be about 60 or 65 when I'm done. So I'm entering the home stretch, feeling pretty good about it as of this afternoon. I mean, I could be on the floor crying tomorrow. You know how this goes. But I wonder, while we wait, if you don't see any indications that Gary has joined us yet on Podbean, have you?
No, I have not.
Okay, then what I guess we'll do is, let's move on to the third segment where we
actually let's pause for a moment, because I have a public service announcement that I want to interject.
Does this involve orthodontics or dentistry of any kind?
As a matter of fact, it does. So, I know that Halloween's coming up, and I know that everybody's going to want to vamp out. And so me included, and I saw an ad on Facebook, and luckily I don't know the company, so I can't be accused of any slandering or infringement, because this thing's just so funny. So it was an ad, and it was about these fangs, and you could put them in your mouth and they literally would drop, and it looked just so cool on the ad. And I thought, oh my gosh, being a vampire, aficionado and lover, everything, I thought, I gotta have these. I absolutely gotta have these. And so I ordered them.
No, God. All right. And tell me about the results. How pleased were you?
Let me tell you, I paid $13.77, I believe, and I received 4 of them. Now, I'm going to read you the warnings first that come on the case that they come in. Warning: adult novelty item not sufficient for children under 14 years of age. Standard thing. Do not use over braces, plates, crowns, or dental work. Okay, that's standard. Do not keep in permanently, and remove if under the influence of alcohol.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, mind you, okay, I'll come back to that one. Now, the other sticker says, watch in amazement as the special FX fangs actually grow in place right before your eyes. And then it says, movie quality, custom fit to your mouth, bring out the vampire in you. So, comes in a nice white, well, I won't say nice, plastic white case. And you open these up, and inside are 2 rubber like things that are supposed to go on your teeth. And then there is this plastic piece with 2 fangs. So, being the wonderful person that I am, I absolutely had to give my co-host a set of these. Dan, what would you describe these like?
Well, they're not robust looking. They don't look top shelf quality. And I'm not able to get them to work. I stuff them in my mouth like this, and I can't seem to get because it has that your tongue flips up the thing, and the fangs retract. And I'm drooling all over myself. I gotta stop. I take them out. This is embarrassing.
You know
They're
what
they're really terrible. And they taste bad. They're not good.
aside from the fact that they're stark white, so against anybody's teeth, and when I put them in and I smile, you can see the band coming around the front. And the crazy thing is that, these, okay, when you go to, or when we were little, you used to go and you had those machines that you would put the quarter in and you turn it and out would pop one of those plastic globe things with a prize inside.
Oh, yeah.
That's what these look like they belong in. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking maybe, oh my God, what would you say to make these like 2 cents? And
that's generous. That's really like I'm being generous when I say 2 cents.
The case is actually worth more than and that's not saying much. And then, I come back to do not keep in mouth and, remove if under the influence of alcohol. I would have to be under the influence of alcohol to actually wear these.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Now we should take a picture and we'll post that on the Vamp Chat Facebook and Instagram later on.
Absolutely.
Don't be
fooled. Don't be fooled. Oh.
Should we name and shame the product maker? Or
I don't know who it is. That's the sad thing. It was a Facebook, and I didn't. All it did was it showed that $13.77 went out of my account, and it probably went. There's no telling where it went, and these are I guess it was worth the price to have it for Vamp Chat to warn the public. Now, mind you, I got 4 of these. Okay, with my $13.77. So tell Gary I'm calling him here in just a minute. It was so. Please don't be fooled. I was just like, these are so cool. I've got to have these. Well, yeah, I had to have them. All right. So.
Well, I thank you for giving me one of the ones that were in the package, and I will try to take a picture with them later. Maybe they will be in my mouth. I'm not sure that that's a good idea. And yeah, maybe I have to be really rip-roaring drunk to be able to pull this look off. But yeah, all right. Gary says he's ready. But we're gonna have to
now.
So what we're gonna do is a little. We're going to try to do this with phone audio, speaker audio, and see if we can get that to work. And if we can't, okay, I will send it to you again, Eva.
But yeah, please don't be fooled. We got too many digits. We got too many digits here.
So while we're doing this, let's tease the C segment, the movie review segment. Should we do that?
We can, but I've got too many digits here, Dan. So you've got this phone number isn't working.
Oh, yeah. All right, I get it now. Okay, 1 second. 814.
Give Gary's number out to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! I love that.
You know what? Yeah. 0. Okay, got it. I think. How about that? Does that work?
Much better. Better.
So okay, thank you. Sorry, that was me. That was my fault.
Gary.
All right.
Can you hear?
I could hear the little ringtone. That's exciting. One ringy dingy.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I wish it was easier.
Yeah.
That is all right. As long as Dan, can you hear Gary okay?
I can hear Gary just fine. It's great to have you on the show with us, Gary. And well, I guess what we'll do is we will launch into our interview. I'm now just adjusting the screen here so I'm caught up. And I guess, Eva, I believe you.
Can I just say one thing first?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think maybe this was all a plot by the vampires to keep us from talking.
It could have been.
Yes.
We're going to expose them, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely. All right.
I think
Well,
you're
Gary,
right. Well, Dan, would
we
you
are
like to
thrilled.
introduce Gary for us?
Yes, we are thrilled to welcome Gary Hill, author and editor of numerous publications. But the one we will focus on is the anthology Life, Blood 2, which Gary edited and contributed to. Now, full disclosure, I wrote the blurb for this publication, just putting that out there so everyone's fully informed. Gary Hill, welcome to Vamp Chat.
Glad to be here after all the difficulties.
All right. Yeah.
And still we persevere. Yes. Well, okay, let's get into the interview here. So, Gary, anthologies, they typically have a theme that runs through them. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what an anthology is a collection of short stories put together in a book. So typically they have a theme that runs through them. And I was curious about what sort of vampire fiction and nonfiction pieces you were looking for when you issued the call for the contributors to this one and how they fit the theme that you wanted.
Well, literally the theme was just vampires. And I love to see all the different variations people come up with. So it's like all my vampire stories sort of fit into a shared universe, and there are certain rules and everything. And I think that everybody's vampire fiction should probably be like that in their own universe. Although I'd love it if anybody wanted to pile onto mine and get some stuff in my universe too. That's cool. But, so it was just literally vampires. I had already done one vampire one, and I knew I had enough stories and could do some nonfiction pieces too, to fill it out. And so I thought, well, let's put together another one. So that was, pretty simple, just vampires. I love vampires.
Okay.
You're on the right
That's why
podcast.
you're here.
Yeah, you're on the right podcast for that.
So one of your contributing authors, Gary, is R.C. or Renee Mulhare, who hails from New England. What attracted you to her story, The Vampire Edna?
That's just a really, really fun story. RC is awesome. She contributes to a lot of my anthologies, and she's just a really good writer. And I've done chats with her before, and she is a super cool person. And I'm one of her fans, So if she wanted to contribute something, I've told her a while ago, if you send something to me, you can pretty much be sure I'm going to take it because all of her stuff is really good. And the Vampire Edna is just really fun because I love the whole the humorous side of that story. It's a fun story.
Yeah, she's turned into she's bitten by a vampire, and then I guess slowly or whatever turns into a vampire. She develops a bloodthirst. I like this bit in the story when Edna visits her doctor and learns there is a community of people who have been transformed into vampires who call themselves blood or psi energy dependent persons or bipeds, and Edna dismisses this as political correctness, insisting, I'm a bloody vampire. Yeah, as if to say, let's not complicate it here. And then she asks her doctor if Medicare will cover the cost of her blood transfusions so she can get nourishment. I guess I like that the story is kind of grounded in everyday realities, even in medical and economic stuff. But of course, it has this supernatural component.
Exactly. It's like a real world sort of variant on the whole legend.
I want to know if she had a pre-existing condition. Does this count as a pre-existing condition?
There you go. I also love how vampires can get high off of, or drunk off of the blood of somebody who's drunk or high. That's a new aspect of that story too.
I love that too. Yeah.
So, Gary, one of the pieces with a new and refreshing vampire twist is I Saved the Beatles, which you actually wrote. So yes. What inspired you for this story?
It's funny because I'm also a music journalist, and I always think about music. I've played music for many, many years too, and so music is a big part of my brain as well. And So I got thinking about, I don't know, just something. I've been trying to do some historical pieces too, where the vampires fit into real history. And I thought, well, what if there was a story that went behind the scenes and there was a plot to take out one or more of the Beatles, and a vampire actually stopped it. And so that was the premise. And I really like that story because I think it's kind of cool because it's one of the few sort of feel-good vampire stories, you know? It's not so much horror, but there's definitely vampires. And, you know, there's killing. And so I don't know. It just seemed like a fun story to write. And I really enjoyed writing that one a lot.
And it was a fun one to read. Hey, another story in this anthology, Lifeblood 2, is called Origin of the Species, and it is set in ancient Sparta. Now, here you write of a human volunteer named Alpheus, who submits to various, I guess, experiments that turn him into a vampire. This new creature, and really the first vampire, is meant to be a prototype for a warrior that is much stronger than Sparta's current soldiers. Why did you choose ancient Greece as the location for the first vampire?
Well, you know, the funny thing about that is that I wrote that story just recently, but I actually had the idea for that probably 20 years ago when I wrote a vampire story and decided that the origin for vampires, it would be cool if it started in Sparta, because Sparta was always trying to come up with what they considered the perfect person, and they were a very warrior-like society, so it would be someone who was very, you know, strong and able to survive things. And so I thought, what if they did some kind of experiment and accidentally created the first vampire? And so I finally sat down to do the actual origin story when I did that one. And it was kind of fun looking up ancient Greek names, you know, and getting some of the details about the culture. And so it was, like I said, it was an idea I had. I think, if I remember right, it was at least mentioned in an early draft of one of my very first vampire stories that they started in Sparta, but it may not have actually wound up in the final version of the story, but it was always in my head, and I wanted to sort of write that.
Yeah, it's a cool story.
So, Gary, to write such different short stories about vampires, I assume you've spent a lot of time researching vampire lore like we have.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So when did you become interested in the creatures of the night?
Oh, geez. It goes back. I've told this story many times, but it goes back to when I was a little kid. And I was one of the generation who would run home as quickly as I could from grade school so that I could watch Dark Shadows.
Yes.
And I was a huge fan of Barnabas Collins. I remember my uncle who worked in the entertainment industry, he would bring me all kinds of Barnabas Collins stuff as gifts, and I loved it. And so it started all the way back there. So I've been a fan of vampires as long as I can remember.
So I have to interject, liking the Barnabas originals. What did you think of Johnny Depp as Barnabas?
You know, I have not actually seen that movie. I've only seen a couple scenes in the movie, and what I saw, I actually liked. I've been wanting to check it out and just haven't had a chance yet.
No, it's different but good. So
Yeah. Jonathan Frid, the original Barnabas Collins from the 1960s and 70s series, he's got I think a more of a mystique, where I think Depp brings a little more obviously comedic energy, and a little something weird about it. But perhaps maybe one day we will review the Dark Shadows movie by Tim Burton, and maybe maybe compare that with, say, House of Dark Shadows, the movie that wrapped up all of the TV episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be good. You know, the other thing I will say that I loved about the Tim Burton Dark Shadows was that he had Alice Cooper in there, which I'm a big Alice Cooper.
That is great. So, Gary, we now have 2 anthologies in the Lifeblood series. Are you planning a third? And if so, who are some of the authors you'll include?
I have not thought about doing a third yet. However, what I am planning, and I've been planning this for a while, is eventually I'm going to take all of my short stories and I'm going to put them together into a book, but I'm going to add more stories because I want to sort of do a full like chronology of the vampires in my sort of fictional universe. But the book is going to be done as if some scholar has come across all these separate texts written by different people and decided to try to put them together and weave it into one story. Because, there's a lot of different flavors to the way those are written. Some are very comedic and some are lighthearted and some are a lot more serious. So, it sort of needs a narrator to kind of connect them, I think. But I've been thinking about that for a long time, and I've got another, one of the stories in that one, the Halloween Intervention, that one you find one of the vampires, Julia, gets sucked into an other dimensional thing and pulled into like some sort of Cthulhu universe thing. Well, I've actually been working on a story called Julia Redux where she comes back. Only she's changed and she's a lot more powerful, but in a different way. And that's actually going to go on a whole different direction for the vampire stuff and take it into very Lovecraftian directions too. But they're still vampires. They're still very much the same vampires, but they're dealing with Lovecraftian horrors too.
Nice.
Very cool.
That's nice. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Gary Hill, editor of and contributor to the anthology Lifeblood 2. Gary, hang with us while we tease our final segment of the show, the one we devote to movie and TV reviews. And Dan, I understand you have another movie to recommend, one that's a variation on Nosferatu.
Yes, this film depicts the making of that 1922 silent classic. Now, even if you haven't watched the film, you've seen the photos of the tall, bald-headed guy with the pointy ears, long fingernails, and rat-like teeth. This film, the film that I will review, asks an intriguing question. What if the actor who played the vampire in Nosferatu was an actual vampire?
Okay, I love that twist. Creepy and thought-provoking.
Yeah, and it's somewhat timely since we have a new iteration of Nosferatu coming in December, directed by Robert Eggers. So I'll have my review of a disturbing, but also pretty funny variation of Nosferatu toward the end of the show.
And you said, Gary, you have not seen it?
I have not. I would like to see that. That sounds really interesting.
All right. I'm interested in this because I have a deep love for the Nosferatu. I've always loved the Nosferatu, so I'm intrigued. So Gary, let's get back to you.
I was going to say Nosferatu. I don't know. I mean, I've started doing this horror hosting thing where I do Scary Gary and I do like the standard horror hosting things. And the very second episode I did had Nosferatu. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I'm just fun about it. So
yeah. And it's very artsy and the whole thing is just, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, I'm sure you guys know this, but a lot of people might not. The whole thing about vampires being killed by sunlight, we literally owe that to that movie because that did not exist in lore until that movie.
You're right. Yeah, that 1922 masterpiece by F.W. Murnau.
Yep.
Right.
I think, Dan, I think we talked about that on didn't we talk about that before? Or maybe it was you.
I think we did that maybe in our interview with Bria Jones of Louisville Public Media.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. All right. So, Gary, during Vamp Chat, we ask each of our guests the same set of questions. So, Dan, you want to begin?
Sure. Gary, who is your favorite vampire of all time and why?
Probably Valak from John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yeah.
Just because he is so powerful, and I love the opening part of that movie where they go in and they destroy his nest, but they miss him, and they're all these seasoned vampire hunters, and all of a sudden he just shows up and wipes out almost every one of them, and has the rest of them running. It's like that is just so devastating. I think he's probably my favorite vampire. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Nice. So, what vampire power do you wish you had?
Boy, that's a hard one. Probably the immortality part. That would be pretty cool to just be able to heal from anything.
That's awesome.
That's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. And very practical. We like practical powers here.
Well, it goes along with not needing Medicare.
Yes. Yeah. Pre-existing condition. Yeah. Take that. Okay, Gary, are you Team Louis or Team Lestat?
You know what? I never really got into Vampire Lestat, so I don't really know.
Oh my gosh! So we got to put you in the Team Louis section, which puts Dan at 3 and me at 0. What is going on with this? Does nobody like Lestat?
I tried to watch the movie, and I got bored to death, and so I never tried the book.
Well, I can definitely say, Anne Rice wrote the screenplay for the movie, but give the books a shot because I'm a huge Anne Rice fan, and I love the books. The books are amazing.
I do have Queen of the Damned sitting here. I just haven't cracked it open yet.
Yeah, that's the third in the series. So you might want to start with Interview with the Vampire.
Well,
if you want to just,
If you've seen the movie Interview with the Vampire, the script, she wrote the script, so it's very close to the movie. So I would start with the Vampire Lestat, and then go to Queen of the Damned, because what they did in the movies is they took the two books, mashed them together, and just debauched the whole thing. So we won't go there. I digress. I digress. So, Gary, would you want to be turned into a vampire, and if so, why?
Yeah, I kind of think it would be pretty cool. Actually, there is in my vampire universe, in several of the stories, there is a fictionalized version of me that is a vampire. Because one of the very first stories I did centered on a band I was in, and I got the idea of what if one of the guys who was one of my best friends, who was the lead singer, and myself were vampires, and I started running it off of that. And so there's a character, Dark Star, which is actually a pen name that I use as well, and he's one of the characters in several of the vampire stories, and that's actually a fictional version of me. So, yeah, I think it would be really kind of cool. That the disadvantages are a problem, but I think you could deal with them perhaps better than some vampires do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we were talking about vampire Prozac at one time. We were.
We're always talking about vampire Prozac. It keeps coming back. It's a new trope. I'm sure that's going to be around for the ages. Now, Gary, before we bid you adieu,
hold on,
please.
Hold on, Dan.
Can I say one thing? I would say that there is a way that you could get. There are ways you could get by without having to kill. I mean, the main character in I Saved the Beatles, the narrator, gets a job as a mortician so that he can drain the blood and drink it from the bodies that are already coming in. So there are ways you could do it. Although in the story, it's sort of distasteful to most vampires to do it that way. But he's like, I don't care.
That actually dispels a trope in that you don't drink dead blood.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the vampire trope. Yep.
Well, and that's one of the things I love. That's one of the things I like in my sort of universe is that I try to dispel a lot of those tropes, and in fact, it's established that some of those tropes, like no reflections in mirrors and the sun killing the vampire, are actually either started by or perpetuated by the vampires because it's a way to throw the suspicion off of them. Since if humans believe that. So if they have a reflection in a mirror, well, they can't be a vampire. And at one point, one of the characters says something like, well, isn't that kind of ridiculous? Because you'd still see our clothes. I mean,
Yeah. That's good.
I like that theory, though, is dispelling it's a survival technique.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant, actually.
I like that a lot.
So we all of the authors we bring on, Gary, get a chance to do a little bit of self-promotion. I mean, we want you to succeed as well. So please tell us where listeners can get copies of Lifeblood 2 and your other books.
Okay, you can either go to lulu.com/spotlight/strange sound, or just go to GaryHillAuthor.com. That's probably the easier way. They're organized better there. And you'll find links to Amazon for the ones that are available on Amazon. Not all of them are. I sort of stopped publishing on Amazon a while ago. But either that or they'll take you to where you can buy the Lulu or the Lulu paperback or the hardcover, and also to where you can check out the Goodreads page for it to see if there are reviews.
Okay, excellent.
Nice. And I guess they just go to your website to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can do that, or just email me at garrett@garyhillauthor.com. And so, and everything I do can be linked to from garyhillauthor.com, so they can check out the other stuff too.
Nice. Very nice. Well, Gary, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on BAM Chat. I'm sorry for, the technical difficulties, but you know what? We made it happen. We got together, and we persevered, and we made it through, and it's been an awesome interview. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah. Cheers, Gary.
Conspiracy to keep us from talking.
We did. We beat the vampires.
We beat the vampires.
It is getting dark, so we probably need to head indoors with some crucifixes and things. But we made it through. So thank you so much, Gary.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
And,
that was a fun interview.
Oh my gosh, we did it. It's like we made it.
I forget whether or not we teased the next show, Jacqueline Holland. Did we do that?
We did.
Okay, good.
We
That's
did.
next. The God of Endings
But
next Wednesday.
Now hold on. You got to say it right. You can't.
The God of Endings. That'll be next Wednesday, October 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. We will talk with author Jacqueline Holland.
Yes. And now it's time to reveal what vampire video content we've been consuming. And Dan, I got to say, you did it again. You found another movie I haven't seen. Where you're pulling these from? I thought I'd seen every single one of them. I don't know how you keep doing it. So you found a variation on a theme of Nosferatu. So tell us about this film that poses the question, what if the actor playing Nosferatu was an actual vampire?
Yes. So the movie is Shadow of the Vampire, a film from the year 2000 that stars John Malkovich as the famed German director F.W. Murnau. He has just begun shooting a vampire film called Nosferatu, and when we meet him, he's filming a scene with his lead actress, a very beautiful actress named Greta Schroeder, who's played by Catherine McCormick. Greta became famous as a stage actor in Berlin, and she complains that this new medium, film, gives nothing back to her. In her words, a theatrical audience gives me life, while this thing, she points to the camera, only takes it from me. Yeah. And we see a lot of this thing, which operates by cranking a handle. Most notably, it appears in scenes where a character becomes weaker, as if something has been draining their life.
Okay.
And of course, much of this enervation also occurs when a certain actor is on set. A guy named Max Schreck, who plays the fictional vampire in the film Count Orlok. Schreck, not to be confused with the more recent lovely cuddly monster, it's a slight different spelling. Schreck means fear in German. And he is described by Murnau as a method actor who gets so deep into his character that he will only shoot at night, for example. And he looks every bit like a centuries-old monster.
A method actor, I love that.
Yeah. And Schreck here is played by Willem Dafoe. And we don't meet him. Yeah, he's a great actor, and he's going to be in the next Nosferatu as well. And we don't meet him until director Murnau moves the entire production by train to a remote village in Czechoslovakia. They stay at an inn, where they will also shoot scenes, and the innkeeper's wife gets upset when Murnau removes crucifixes from the rooms, a clue that the residents are trying to ward off something evil. Murnau explains his action by saying the crosses don't belong in the scene, but I doubted this when I first saw this film. Crosses would be very common in rural homes of that period. So to my mind, a filmmaker looking for authenticity would keep them.
Right.
So when he orders them removed, Murnau is giving us a hint that something is a little bit off about him. I wouldn't call it a red flag, but it introduces a bit of doubt about his intentions. So later that night, filming moves to an old castle, where the cast and crew will finally meet Max Schreck, who plays Count Orlok. The scene involves Gustav, played by the comedian then known as Eddie Izzard, who is a real estate agent hired by Orlok to find properties for him in Germany. Gustav approaches the castle nervously. The doors open, and Orlok, played by Shrek, slowly emerges from the shadows with his pale skin, pointy ears, and long, deadly-looking fingernails. And Gustav is not prepared for this by the director. He is terrified by seeing this man. But they finish the scene. And everyone congratulates Gustav for his best performance ever, but of course, he wasn't acting. So moments later, as they're getting ready to leave, someone finds the lead cameraman, Wolfgang, on the ground and shaking as if he's been attacked. So director Murnau quickly gathers him and gets him into a car before anyone can determine what happened to Wolfgang. And then they all drive back to the inn as Max Schreck watches from the roof of the castle. Now, things become even more revealing the next night when they film another scene with Gustav and Shrek, who is seated. Murnau urges Gustav to lean closer and point out certain items in the real estate contract, and on cue drops a locket with a painted image of his fiancée, played by Greta Schroeder. The Count picks up the locket and is entranced by her picture. Now, Eva, you might be thinking that this plot sounds eerily similar.
That is
to another
exactly what I'm thinking. This is eerily
famous
similar.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell us what you think this is an analog of.
Yeah, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I mean,
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely right. This 1922 silent film, Nosferatu, is a copyright violation of Dracula. Murnau thought he could get away with it by renaming each character created by Bram Stoker. So Dracula becomes Count Orlok, Harker becomes Gustav, and so on. But let's get back to Shadow of the Vampire. In the aforementioned scene, Max Schreck goes off script and utters the name Greta as he holds the locket. And Gustav is surprised. He knows about her because Schreck is a recluse and has obviously never been to Berlin. So Gustav's surprise is a clue that Schreck may have been expecting Greta Schroeder. Creep, crawl, creep, right? Now, Eva, I'll give you a little bit more of the synopsis, and then I'll give you my impressions of this film.
Okay.
So we have a scene where Gustav arrives at Orlok's castle, and the Count shows him a table laden with food. And during filming, Gustav cuts himself while slicing bread, although he actually cuts himself on the set. And Schreck goes wild. And he is not acting at this point. Blood! He attacks Gustav, who resists, and then the lights go out briefly, and when they come back on, Schreck is again biting the neck of Wolfgang, the already weakened cameraman.
This poor cameraman.
Oh my God. The producer cancels work for the night, and the rest of the cast and crew flee the castle of disarray. So over the course of this film, we see the producer, Albin Grau, become increasingly concerned about his friend Murnau, who appears to be deceiving him about the mysterious and now troublesome actor named Max Schreck. One night, the producer and the new cameraman hired to replace Wolfgang discover Murnau in his room, high on the opiate laudanum. Murnau lets slip something that makes the others think their female star, Greta Schroeder, is in danger. And spoiler alert, she is.
Murnau has brought that.
Murnau has brought this famous stage actress, Greta, to this remote village as a gift to Schreck. The final scene of this film, as in Nosferatu, involves Greta's character sacrificing herself by giving Count Orlok all her blood to keep him up until after the sun has risen, right? Only in this film, Greta Schroeder is going to give up all of her blood in real life. So now we understand that Murnau's cinematic masterpiece is a snuff film. As they prepare for the film's final scene, Greta is lying on the bed and glances at a nearby mirror and notices Schreck does not cast a reflection.
Oh, shocker.
She freaks out. And Murnau has to subdue her with a sedative. The camera zooms in on her eyes as the drug takes effect, and we finally understand how correct she was to distrust this new medium of film, which, as she said at the beginning, only takes life. The final moments involve Shrek killing the cameraman and the producer, leaving Murnau. Yeah, we have a little fight scene. And then Murnau is the last man standing who must operate the camera himself. After sacrificing his actors and his crew, he turns the camera on Shrek as he is destroyed by the rising sun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's so much
Eva,
going
that is
on. I've got so many questions. Like, what happened to poor Wolfgang? I mean, you know,
Yeah, so he's kind of like off camera now, like he's left the village, and at one point someone writes him off as dead.
you know, the moral of the story is don't be a cameraman. I mean, gosh, you know, poor Wolfgang,
Yeah.
and then the second cameraman bites it. I mean, you
Yeah.
definitely don't want to be a cameraman. Now, never mind that everybody else bites it too, but you definitely don't want to be a cameraman. No, this. Okay, I'm definitely adding this to my watch list, even though, you know, there's a spoiler alert here, but I've got to see this because I just want to see, like, this is one of those great ones where I want to see, I want to see how everybody dies.
Yeah, basically, and it is, you know, it's also kind of darkly funny. You know, actor Willem Dafoe walks a fine line throughout this film, keeping his presence menacing while also preserving that fish out of water quality of an ancient vampire working on a 1920s film set. And so this part of Dafoe's performance is kind of a little bit endearing. In one scene, we get a moment to empathize with Dafoe, or Shrek, when all alone, he starts cranking the camera to play back film of a rising sun, something he hasn't seen in centuries. You know, it's just really kind of neat how he revels in that. And it made me like his character even more. I got to say about the rest of the cast, they seem very well chosen for their roles. Eddie Izzard, now Susie Izzard, was a nice surprise as Gustav. Yeah, Udo Kier totally works as producer Albin Grau. And we get a notable performance from Cary Elwes as the replacement cameraman. Additional kudos have to go to John Malkovich. Malkovich does so well playing an obsessive, controlling filmmaker who will literally sacrifice his actors to make art. And Catherine McCormick really made me care about a stuck-up actress who, under false pretenses, is lured away from the Berlin stage to die for Murnau's artistic vision. So there you are, Eva. Those are my impressions of Shadow of the Vampire.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely watching this one. So, okay. So on FamChat, we've got a review system that's drops of blood, you know, with 10 being the highest. How many drops of blood will you give Shadow of a Vampire?
Okay, I was going to give this 9 drops of blood,
based on
my memory of it. The premise is fun and the actors were great, but when I rewatched it just a week ago, I had to dock this film for the opening credits, which drag on a little bit too long. We spend about 5 minutes zooming in and roaming around at what looks like a painting or perhaps a woodcut showing warriors, kings, dragons. It's an homage to Carpathian myths and legends. But the swelling music does little to keep me interested. I just wanted to skip ahead to that first scene where Greta complains about the camera. So I will give Shadow of the Vampire 8 drops of blood.
All right. Okay, so I think has that been our highest one yet? I think so.
I gave 9 to.
That's right. You gave 9.
Only Lovers
Left
Alive.
That's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which it was so funny because when Gary was talking about the Beatles, I thought about that movie because I was like, you know, here's a vampire saving, you know, the Beatles, but then I immediately thought of that character because he's a musician.
Yes, a guitarist and plays violin even. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess just on a final note, we are accepting sponsorship inquiries for Vamp Chat. So if you want to inform your rapidly growing audience about your business or upcoming events, then...
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for those looking to reach folks who read about vampires or watch films or TV shows about the undead and who are more likely to attend events geared toward their fellow creatures of the night.
So if you'd like to sponsor Vamp Chat, email us at vampchatwithdanandeva@gmail.com or reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram.
And we look forward to introducing your business or event to our audience.
And that's our show. So be sure to listen to our next episode on October 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's when we'll talk with Jacqueline Holland, author of, it's such a good title, When Deserving of the Full Vampire Treatment. You go for it.
The God of Endings. And thanks to this evening's guest, Gary Hill, editor of the anthology Lifeblood 2.
And thanks to you for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can also email us at vampchatwithdanandeva@gmail.com.
All right, children of the night, we wish you safe dreams.
Just keep an eye open for those creatures of the night.
And if you can't sleep, we have vampire books to recommend. Be sure to devour Eva's novel, A Fury.
Or sink your teeth into Dan's novel, Fiona's Guardians.
And with